right, good morning, everyone. We'll call the Board of Water Wastewater Commissioners meeting agenda to order for the conference room in the Harwich Water Department, 196 Chatham Road, Harwich, Mass. Wednesday, August 11th, 2021 at 11 o'clock. First consent agenda is the minutes for July 29th. Those aren't ready yet, so we'll hold off on that. There are no abatements. There's no one here from the public. We'll move on to contracts. The General Waterworks Supplies bid. Dan?
So yesterday we had the bid opening for the FY22 Waterworks Supplies bid. So this bid is a little bit different than the ones we've done in the past, whereas what we're looking to do with this is establish unit pricing for the waterworks materials that we purchase throughout the year. Procurement laws mandate that once we exceed a certain threshold dollar value that we have to go out to bid, so that where we spend about $100,000 annually on these supplies, that's what triggered that. So the bid was published through MGL 3030B. In the pack, or what was in the packet that I added today was the memo that includes the publications that were done in the Goods and Services Bulletin, the Cape Cod Chronicle, on Combis, and here at the Water Department. I didn't include for the packet because I didn't want to make a bunch of copies of the thick bids, but I do have them here for review if the board wants to go through them. We received 3 bids, Ferguson Waterworks, Stiles Company, and Thai Sales. Ferguson Waterworks did have the most complete and most responsible and responsive bidder. So that was what I noted in the memo and my recommendation for the Water Wastewater Commission to award. The other 2 bids that were submitted were incomplete in that we have about 296 individual components that we purchase throughout the year. So some of the vendors only submit on certain sections. Ferguson Waterworks is the one that usually does submit on all 296 items. For the ones that the competitors did submit pricing on, Ferguson was lower than them in those categories as well, so it is an all-around better bid for the department. So I guess with that, I would give any questions.
Yeah.
This is your nuts and bolts stuff, which is great. Once you have it on bid, then you can just order and you don't have to worry about procurement levels and how much you did the previous year, which is great. I'm curious, if you're ordering, I don't know, like a piece of pipe or something like that, do you specify it so that like only one manufacturer would be able to follow your spec, or is it our equivalent?
So everything's legally, technically, or equal. However, we, a brass nipple that's 12-inch, 1-inch diameter is, from anywhere. We use Mueller brass here. We use, for our meters, right? So we do specify in this bid, but they have the opportunity to submit or equal. We do specify American-made domestic products. For things like special projects, like we did for the Pleasant Lake tank, the work that we did internally here, bigger things would go out to bid separately on, outside of this. But we're trying to get an all-encompassing bid.
No, I mean, I know it's hard because you want to follow all the procurement rules, but also it's kind of nice in your stock bin to have, when you reach in to know what you're getting. Right. So it sounds like you've kind of hit all the bases on that, so thank you.
Anybody else? A motion?
Yeah. Mr. Chairman, I move we accept the bids as presented.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, thank you. Yeah, do you have anything you want us to sign?
Yes, we do have a letter.
All right, up next, the new business is 1569 Orleans Road, a payment plan.
So I'm gonna ask Wellesley to take the lead on this. She's been dealing with the property owner.
All right.
Yes, thank you. So, this particular homeowner has requested a special consideration by the board for a payment plan at this stage. She's going through review because, as you know, we do offer payment plans for our residents when they have current balances. So if the bill is not due yet, they call us up, we offer a payment plan. And we do have in our regulations that if they have one prior bill due, we can still set up a plan for them, so over 2 bills to help pay it down. This particular account has had a running balance for quite some time, and it was leaned in the fall. And we have sent out outreach assistance as is usual with letters before we get to the shut-off process, so that it gives them an opportunity to reach out for assistance to pay down bills. When that does not come to fruition, then we give shut-off cards at the properties to ensure that if for some reason they're not getting the mail, they get something physically from us, a card, with instructions for how to pay, the amount, the account details, so they can go online and pay. If payment is still not made, then we schedule, turn off, and we don't hear from them and so forth. So with this particular account, we explained, and I have had many conversations with her over the years. We have set up payment plans for her in the past. Unfortunately, they haven't been kept satisfactory, but we do have them, and we have offered them, and she has had them. So she has made a partial payment, and she is asking that you sort of stay the shut-off in order for her to pay down the rest of the balance via payment plan. So essentially taking it out of the process that we usually follow at this time of year.
Noreen?
So, Wesley, you said it was leaned in the fall, so wouldn't the lien money come to us out of their first next property tax payment?
So the balance the way we have our process is that any balance that remains on an account for over a year is subject to the lien the following year.
Mm-hmm.
Any bill that remains unpaid after the lien process stays with the water account, and that's what triggers the shut-off process. The lien amount is outside of the balance that's on your water account. So with the lien amount, it usually goes, to the real estate, and they collect it via those means. And they eventually do come to us. But when something remains unpaid, and we're talking now like a year and a half, 2 years, because the lien process is always for the year prior, but then it jumps. So this would be bills going all the way back to January. And because we bill quarterly, January, April, July, October, and now we're into the year and a half. Exactly. So this is essentially a year and a half worth of bills. And so for this upcoming lien process, we will be liening any balance due up through December 31st of 2020.
I see.
And this year's bills won't show up until 2022.
Right.
The fall of 2022. So we have this in place so that balances don't snowball to the point where balances were going back 3-4 years.
Mm-hmm.
And this is a sort of a stopgap measure to prevent that from happening.
That's good information. What I thought I would see would be, a transfer for the lien you mentioned in the fall, out of the account money, did that maybe happen previous to this list, or?
No,
Okay.
Munis has,
Okay.
they don't have a report to show the adjustments. I can see it on my
Okay,
screen,
I
but
see.
when we print it out, it does not have
Yeah.
the adjustments.
Right,
It shows the bills and when they're
Yeah.
due and payments. And in this particular account, she has made payments.
Yeah.
Regular payments, just not the full amount.
Yeah.
They've
No,
always been filled.
I've worked with Munis, not with this program, but so, and so then my last question would be, how do I tell the balance of this customer's account by this history that goes up to July? It doesn't total it, or maybe I'm just not looking at it?
Report should be in the upper left or upper right.
500, just a balance of
Right here.
500 even?
So,
Because she paid the 233.70.
Oh, I see.
this one.
total due. I
Yeah,
have tiny.
yeah.
Oh.
And no, it was because she made, it, the payment made it even, and that's so unusual to see an even number. Yeah.
So Rosie,
Okay.
she agrees to the 125 a month? That said that she can make the payment?
That's what she's proposed.
And I'm sorry.
That's okay.
No, I noticed that there was, a really large bill, a year ago in September. So unless people change their habits, I would think we could expect the same or similar.
Well, I mean, as far as I can see, obviously she's struggling to try to make the payments.
Right.
She's trying to make the payments. I have no problem with the payment plan. And again, if we go with the payment plan and she still can't make the payments, we're gonna go right back to the lien anyways. I mean,
Right.
if it's helpful for her to make that kind of payment and go that route right now, I think we should support it and go in favor of it.
We would generally move to shut off if they fall delinquent on the payment plan.
Yeah, I want to support the payment plan. I just was trying to understand how it all worked together.
Does she pay the current bill too? Or is that building up?
No, that is included with this. So any bill that's still open after the lien is subject to this. So even the new one that was due this past Friday.
So, her balance, let's see. So she owes $500, she has left on the arrears?
Remaining,
And that's what the current
the
bill.
current, yeah.
So of the day is $500.
But, the thing of it is that, there's a history here. We go overboard, and she hasn't lived up to the plan. I'm willing, one more shot, and then, I'd just say turn it off.
Is this the first payment plan that she's been on?
This goes back 10 years
And
with
she's
problems.
I mean,
delinquent?
But we have recouped over the 10 years through liens, most of the money.
And we've leaned before. We had a lien in 2010, 2014.
I think this customer will probably have a big challenge with the next bill coming up, so if we do support a payment plan, I know you would work with her, but I hope she's able to make the payment plan plus a big chunk of money towards her September bill, because even if her water usage has changed, it still could be a very high amount. So just encourage her to.
So Rosie, if we do the payment plan and she doesn't follow through with payments, it would go into a lien before a shut off.
Well, it depends on what you would allow for a payment plan, because we're now into August, and that will overstep the October bill.
Okay.
So we're now going into the fall, which after a certain date, as you know, Noreen, we can't shut off, accounts. So what we do is we would lien, but only up through December 31st of 2020. So the bills from this year would be subject to next year if they remain.
All right.
However, before it gets to that, it would go straight back into the usual shut-off process next year for anything from this year, if she gets lien this year. So in other words, if she doesn't keep the plan, and then that total goes into a lien, then we'll be back into the shut-off next year.
Well, because I'm looking at, like Alan said, a 10-year water service bill. How long has it been that she's been running behind? She hasn't been running behind 10 years. She's been running behind for the last 10 years?
There have been a few times when it has been paid in full, and there was quite a time between liens where she was paying in full. I believe it was 2020 and then 2014. So there was a large gap that everything was on track.
Right.
So.
I'm going to give the homeowner the benefit of the doubt. I think we should work with them, give them every effort we can to make the payments, and see what happens at the next step. And then we'll take it from there. Anybody else?
Like I said, I'm game to work, but, don't let me down.
All right. So then we need a motion to approve.
So moved. So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Is there a second?
There's a second, and I have one more question.
Discussion.
I'm just curious, while you were working with the customer, Wesley, did she mention any reason why the usage went up so high in September? A year ago in September?
Let's see, I know that she had a few leaks down there.
Okay.
She
that's
found
what
like
it is.
leaky faucets and,
Yeah.
Although that's not the year that I talked about.
It's so extraordinary to go from, $100 to $800.
Exactly. Well, I know that she does have, I believe it's drip irrigation.
Okay.
So, and last year was our drought year, so we saw our numbers go through the roof or
Right,
something. So
right.
everybody was, quite a bit last year, so I
Probably.
wouldn't be surprised if that was part of
Yeah,
it.
we probably won't know till after the next reading, and by then we'll have made a decision anyway, so, yep, that's, I was just curious.
Yeah. And with the irrigation, maybe that's something she should consider shutting off if she can't be making the payments. I mean, that's the luxury.
We can certainly suggest it.
Yeah, okay. So we have a motion, we have a second. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
You keep us posted on it, all right? Like I said, it's right there in black and white, all the way back to 2010. And that was January, so I put into a payment plan then. Okay.
So it looks like the water report went down 30 million gallons from last year. So how's that affecting the aquifer now? Any idea where we're at?
Yeah, so, we're still trending downward, but the drought task force met, I believe it was the end of last week. They have not increased our level of drought. We're still maintaining at level 1, so we were still that 25th percentile.
Has there been an increase?
No, in the,
Aquifer?
no.
Still 3 feet below?
Yeah, we're still, between that 2 to 3 feet.
So, look at the July water, rainfall, half inch.
And we won't see, anything until,
Yeah,
We need some snow this year, this winter.
we need a real winter.
Why people calling me saying, oh, with all the rain we've got the last month, though, we should be, I'm like, not even close.
It
Not even close.
just evaporates.
Yeah. All right. Superintendent's report.
Yeah, so just a couple items. The well driller and GZA were out on site at well 10 last week to lay out the location for the test wells. So I believe they're going to be coming September to do the initial round of drilling. We had the Route 28 water main design kickoff meeting last week as well. Another couple updates, we have union negotiations with the IAMAW, which is our field staff, beginning tomorrow afternoon. And just an update on the Barnstable County Septic Loan Program. I have finally heard back from the county. The contact over there informed me that, basically said, hold off. I informed him that Harwich had appropriated a sum of money to help bring those loans in at a lower interest rate. He said we may not need to. They're requesting money from the state and the Clean Water Trust to see if they can do that for all applicants to the loan program. So I needed to get the follow-up from him as to the status, but he should have some indication next week or so. So that's good news.
I'm smiling because I can remember, I don't know if it's the same gentleman, but when they gave a presentation years ago, and we were always talking about, 5% is high, and he said, well, we'll be going to renew our package in a few years, you never know, and that seems so far in the future then. So, that would be great. And I'm sorry, could I ask the second thing you said, Dan, the kickoff was for what?
The Route 28 water main replacement design.
Okay.
So myself, Steve, our assistant superintendent, and Jay Foreman met with GHD. I believe it was 3 or 4 folks here to go through. I provided them access to our Elements work order software, so they're digging into all the existing conditions for the water services and water main ties, so we can get all that laid out.
Anything else?
That's all.
That's really it for superintendent's report. Oh, all right.
I have a question for him. I was wondering, what's the timeline, for instance, for connection letters and packets and tie cards and all of
Yes.
those?
So I was made aware, I believe, middle of last week, the health department is planning on adopting a sewer connection, I don't want to say bylaw or a regulation, a document ultimately mandating the hookup. Now, they're doing that because the existing Title V regulations are written such that if you don't act on the order to connect, you're only allowed to be fined $200. So the concern being that $200 not being enough to it, if the town wanted to leverage $200 a day or something to that effect, they wouldn't have the ability to do so. So that's the purpose. The health department's working on that. My understanding is that they will be looking to vote that, I believe, the last week of the month, which would put letters sometime in September. Now that said, there's a couple of people out there that have failed systems or that are looking for occupancy permits. Just because the Board of Health doesn't have that regulation in place doesn't necessarily mean we can't have people connect. That is really, that regulation, if you will, that they're working on is really to help in these situations where people don't want to connect. So my thought is that I have spoke to most, if not all, of those people who need to connect or are looking to do it right away. So once the IMA amendment passes or, gets voted by both boards, then we would be able to bring Weston and Sampson in to operate our collection system. At that point, we could let people connect, which would be last week of August at the earliest.
And I'm thinking that maybe whatever the Board of Health does in terms of a mandate, that might fill that requirement that was hard to understand in that language on that tax credit. There was a reference to some kind of, I wouldn't say mandate, but some kind of.
Yeah, a local order.
Right.
So, there's 3 different provisions. I actually read quite a bit about the tax credit as I was preparing the letters, welcome packages, which I still intend on bringing back to this board to review. But yes, that is, the order is a requirement, and that was another concern I had. That order is a requirement to be eligible to get that tax credit. So that's an important component for those looking to take advantage of that. So I don't want to be too aggressive with the campaign to have people connect, because I don't want them to connect and not be eligible to get the credit, but those people seeking an occupancy permit or a builder who's not going to be taking advantage would be held harmless in that situation.
All right. Commissioners report. Alan?
I'm good.
Noreen?
I'm good.
John?
Good.
I have one thing I just wanted to read. I got an email regarding one of the jobs, one of the departments, the water department went on and had installed. The email says, on Wednesday of this week, 7/14/21, Jason Eldred and his crew consisting of Scott Curry, Josh Majaka,
Micah. Yeah, right.
and Matt Allen showed up at my house on Concord Drive, in parentheses, at the exact time Jason had told me to expect them, to replace the town water line from the street connection into my cellar. My reason for replacing the old line is because I'm having a new deck installed over the location where the water line enters the cellar, and upon early inspection by Jason, he advised it would be a good idea to replace the pipe originally installed in 1972 before installing the new deck. From my first dealings with the water department, when I went down to see what I needed to do to get the water line inspected and met with, I believe she was Tracy Alves, to the moment Jason and his crew drove away from my property when the job was completed, each and every one of your department employees couldn't have been more responsive, more courteous, more polite, more respectful, more helpful, or more professional. I tried to give the crew members a few dollars tip for their outstanding and hard work, and each refused, stating that this is what the town pays them for. I'm extremely impressed with your personnel, and I am proud to live in a town that has people of this caliber working for the citizens of our town. I believe it not only speaks volumes about the type of personnel you hire, but it also sheds a very favorable light on the management of the department. Please convey my special thanks to each person I have mentioned. I also want to thank you for hiring such very special people and for exercising superior management skills over your department. Again, thank you, Francis Pugsley on Concord Drive. I mean, I don't even know what to say. I mean, it just makes me really proud to be part of a department with the caliber of people who, from the office staffs, the people who go out and, you know, meet with our customers every day. And it's nice to get a letter like that. It doesn't happen often, but I figured it should be read to show my appreciation for the service that we do here. So, thank you. I guess the last thing...
Very lucky.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
we really are.
No, it's amazing.
I think the last thing to do is our next meeting. Do we want to... is Wednesdays working for everybody?
Well, we only moved to Wednesday because I had a conflict tomorrow,
Okay.
so,
So, the 26th?
I mean, that was my
That's fine with me. I
understanding.
mean, Thursdays are fine. So,
My allergies, folks, excuse me.
what?
I was just thinking, I'm going to be on vacation 16th through the 20th. So
Right.
I'm coming back 23rd, 24th, 25th, meeting with, I mean, I have no problem doing it on the 26th, but I only have limited time between now and then in the office.
Do we need a meeting?
We can push it back to the, we can push back to the 2nd. I mean, there's nothing pressing. And if you're going to be gone for that week, I can't imagine it's going to be anything pressing. So I'll go back to the 2nd.
If that's,
Does the 2nd work for
Fine
you,
by
Alan?
You know what?
Actually, no.
Why don't you wait, and if we need to call a meeting, we'll get it posted.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would like to, the one unknown, you know, being when the health department adopts that regulation and when those letters go out, I would like the board to, you know, I would like to meet and go through the welcome package and everything prior to that.
Okay.
That would be,
Could you, at this point, you don't have it, and you're not
okay,
sure.
I'm almost done.
Huh?
I'm almost done. I don't have the date yet.
Yeah. Well, you could let us know.
Yeah.
You get it
Yeah.
in, let us know, and we'll post a meeting and
All right.
make it
Just
make it
so,
out. Take the rest of the summer off.
yeah, just so you'll know, I just started a course thing, so on Wednesdays at 1 I'll be, but other than that, any Thursday
Yeah,
or,
Thursdays are fine. If that works for
you
everybody.
know,
Yeah.
or any Wednesday.
All right.
I have one more question I forgot to ask. Is that dedicated wastewater meeting for the 24th still on? I didn't hear it mentioned at Monday night's meeting.
My understanding, it is now on 30th of August,
Okay.
6 PM in the Griffin Room.
And the 30th is a Monday.
Yeah, we don't have a regular scheduled meeting.
my birthday,
So we have a, we couldn't get the Griffin Room for the 24th,
Okay,
so we have a meeting.
all right.
All right. So we're good.
Because it's hard to keep up with the Board of Selectmen because they're barreling through issues so quickly lately. that I found a couple of things that I don't think were finished in 1962, so I'm going to be sending them to the chairman, because I'm sure he'll take care of them for us,
Right
because
away.
he's...
I can't go over some of the material that you guys have to go through. Was it 365 pages last week? Something like that.
Well, you know, I'll tell you, we were just talking about liens in our process earlier, and the discussion you had Monday night on unpaid taxes and liens was one of the best discussions I've heard in like 10 years. It was like, every other time it seemed like one piece was missing, or two pieces. It was like you had all the parties there,
I
and,
tried to get it together 6 weeks ago.
okay, yeah, well,
And we waited until we had everything.
it was great.
Now we meet with legal, we meet with real estate and open space. And
Right.
we're gonna hire somebody, and we're just gonna take the land back.
Yeah, what about me?
Motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Yeah.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.